Video games are something that have become so ingrained in a huge amount of parts of our modern culture, and they are unlike any other medium out there, including books, radio, television, or movies, because they yield a unique experience that's different every single time a player picks up a game. Games can also teach us how to be creative, how to problem solve and make decisions, and how to pay attention to details we oftentimes miss. Not only this, but games also have a huge social aspect. People watch games together, they play games together, and they talk about games all the time. And yet, they come under so much flack because they apparently cause violent and addictive tendencies, as well as are often blamed as a reason behind childhood development issues, and so much more. However, I am a strong believer in the fact that this isn't true, and that video games can do so much good for any individual, as well as our society as a whole.
Hey there, my name is Nick, and today I'm here to talk to you about a little topic that's been in my mind as of late, and that is why video games are good for individuals as well as our society as a whole. Now, I'm going to do this by focusing on 5 main points, and these points are going to be positive points about why video games are good for you, rather than trying to shut down the naysayers that say video games are bad, because I want to focus on the positivity behind the industry as well as the activity as a whole. So the first point I'd like to make is the fact that video games have actually been proven to slow down the aging process. A study conducted at the University of Iowa took 681 healthy individuals over the age of 50. What they got them to do was to play at least 10 hours of a specific video game. What the results showed was that over the course of these 10 hours, the aging process and the degradation of the brain as a whole was actually slowed by a 1.5 years minimum, all the way up to 6.5 years and more. This means that video games can actually reduce the progression of conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia in older people. A very recent popular example of an older person playing video games is actually Shirley Curry, who is an 82-year-old woman who has famously played Skyrim on her YouTube channel for hundreds of episodes. She claims that the reason that she started playing video games was to improve her brain, but in reality just loves games as a whole, and especially loves games like Skyrim. So the second reason I want to talk about that video games are actually good for our people in our society is very similar to the first in the way that it involves improving brain function. However, this is about improving a person's decision-making skills as well as their ability to pay attention to minute details that most people might miss. Video games often present fast-moving peripheral images that help our brains to get better at receiving sensory data as well as make quick, precise decisions on the fly. A game like StarCraft 2, which is actually the national sport of Korea, requires incredibly quick movements and decision-making skills, and in some cases, players are required to actually make at least 300 actions per minute. That means that each second, a high-tier StarCraft 2 player is making 5 or more actions every single second. Not only this, but games have actually been proven to improve gray matter production in various areas of the brain, including the prefrontal cortex, the cerebellum, and the hippocampus. A German study pooled 23 people and got them to play Super Mario 64 for 30 minutes a day for 2 months. At the end of the 2 months, an MRI scan showed that there was significant gray matter growth in these areas I previously outlined. So this not only improved the aforementioned skills that I mentioned previously, but also showed enhancements to cognitive flexibility as well as the learning ability, meaning that video games actually teach you how to learn. So the third point I want to make, again, is very similar to the first 2 points, and that is the fact that video games have been proven to actually improve hand-eye coordination in individuals. A test performed at the University of Texas Medical Branch was taking place between medical residents, college students, and high schoolers. They were required to play a surgery simulator, and the high school students actually performed significantly better than the other 2 groups because they're used to playing at least 2 hours a day on average of some kind of video game. Not only this, but first-person shooters, rhythm games, and so many more require precision accuracy using things like a controller or a mouse and keyboard. This can be highly beneficial for athletes and professionals such as surgeons and mechanical engineers and so many others that require fine motor skills. For my fourth point, I'm going to talk about a part of video games that's actually very dear to me, and that is the fact that they can help enhance creativity. So, as I mentioned in my introduction, video games are unlike any other medium out there, but why is that? So, traditional mediums like books, TV shows, and movies are really great, but they have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and don't really have any ability to experience these outside of what the original creator intended for. Video games, on the other hand, are incredibly unique because they allow you to make multiple decisions that are completely different from what someone else might have done, including branching paths, different story points, and a lot more that traditional mediums can't quite offer. Take a game like Dark Souls 3, for example. In Dark Souls, there are 19 total bosses in the base game. However, you can do many of these bosses in an altering order and not actually having to go the same way as someone else in many cases. As well, there are certain zones you can skip entirely, including at least 6 optional bosses, and the DLC and other content actually adds a lot more on top of that. The creativity and choice that you have in games like this enhance your ability to think on the fly and to make and find solutions that weren't necessarily intended in the first place or just weren't obvious. This also comes up in a large amount of creative games like Minecraft and The Sims. In these games, there is no real end and you can play essentially infinitely. The things that you create are your own and have a huge amount of choice in the things and the ways that you go about things. Another game that shows a huge amount of creativity is a game called Scribblenauts. A game like Scribblenauts is incredibly unique because it allows you to solve puzzles in any way you want by typing in an object or a thing. So for example, need to light a candle for a friend? Why not make a fire-breathing dragon to do it? Or you could just make a lighter if you're feeling basic. Now for my final point, I want to talk about one of my favorite parts of video games, and that is the social aspect. So there's a lot of people out there that talk about the fact that video games can breed antisocial behavior, but honestly, video games for me have actually brought me a lot closer to a huge amount of people. I can't count the number of times that I have played a game with a few friends sitting down on a couch like Super Smash Bros. Or NHL. A perfect example of games bringing people together is a very recent phenomenon surrounding the game Fortnite Battle Royale. Now, if you haven't heard of Fortnite at this point, you're missing out because that game has been all over social media and all over the internet. The game takes 100 players and pits them against each other in a last to survive game. Each game is different, each experience is different. You can play with friends, you can play in squads, you can play in duos, or you can play by yourself. Now what the game has done, in my eyes, in a lot of ways, is really brought people together who regularly wouldn't necessarily be playing video games. As someone who personally identifies as a gamer, whenever I tell people now that I play video games, I constantly get asked if I've played Fortnite, how many wins I have, how often I play, and who I play with. The game has made some huge waves and has also brought in a huge amount of viewers outside of just playing the game. So Twitch.tv is the internet's largest streaming service for video games. People live stream daily playing games and also doing other things on the website. So fairly recently, a streamer by the name of Ninja played a game of Fortnite with rapper Drake, and this caused a huge amount of waves outside of just the gaming community. He actually got picked up and did an interview with CNN as well as a few other news sites. Now, Ninja as a streamer brings in about 125,000 concurrent viewers at any given time on average. This means that if you were to go to Twitch.tv and tune into his stream, chances are you're watching with well over 100,000 other people, talking with each other, interacting, and really enjoying the whole experience. So not only this, but live streaming and other things have also brought up a huge amount of traction in the esports community. So if you don't know what esports are essentially competitive video games. A very recent iteration of esports done well is Blizzard Entertainment's Overwatch League. Overwatch is a 6v6 hero-based shooter, and the league actually features teams from many different cities. For example, the Philadelphia Fusion, the New York Excelsior, and many other teams from places around the US and around the world. At any given time when the Overwatch League is streaming, you will be interacting with, in general, over 100,000 other people watching, enjoying and cheering on their teams, and actually, in some cases, going to the Blizzard Entertainment Stadium. So outside of watching and playing games together, people also talk about games. I actually get along with a lot of my friends really well because of the games that we play together and the games that we talk about together. So overall, based on these 5 points and a whole lot more that I haven't had a chance to talk about, I would say that video games have a huge positive impact on our society as well as individuals. Video games can help increase brain function, reduce aging, help to teach people how to actually learn. People interact with video games, people play video games with others, and overall, video games can help to enhance the creativity of any individual. Not only this, but year over year, the video game industry has continued to get larger and larger, meaning that they're not going away anytime soon. So if you've never had the chance to pick up a video game and really experience what it's like, then I implore and encourage you. Grab a controller, grab a mouse and keyboard, even download something on your phone, because truly, video games are an experience unlike anything else out there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. My name is Nick, aka Mediocrities. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, subscribe, do anything you want, and I'll see you guys later or another time.